What would you do if you discovered your government was watching everything you do? Texts, emails, phone calls, even without your permission. For most of us, we might shrug it off, assume we've got nothing to hide. But for some small group of rebellious teenagers, this wasn't good enough. This is the true story of how two young hackers, barely out of high school, took on some of the most powerful intelligence agencies in the world, and won, at least for a while. Back in 2013, a quiet man with a sharp mind was about to change everything. Edward Snowden, a contractor for the National Security Agency, had access to classified surveillance programs. He discovered the government was not just spying on enemies, they were collecting data on nearly everyone. Emails, video calls, messages, nothing was safe. Haunted by what he'd uncovered, Snowden made the unthinkable decision. He left his home, his girlfriend, and a six-figure job in paradise to expose the truth. He knew the cost would be enormous, possibly spending the rest of his life in prison. But once the files were published, they sparked a global storm, and some young people were paying very close attention. Fast forward to 2015, in a small town in England. A 15-year-old boy, known online as a cracka, is glued to his screen in a rundown housing estate. He's bored, high, and angry. But he's also watching the world closely. News of surveillance, the war in the Middle East, and government secrecy make his blood boil. He fixates on Palestine and the role he believes the United States has played in the role of suffering there. So he decides to fight back. Armed with little more than Wi-Fi and determination, cracka creates a hacking group called Crackers with Attitude, a direct nod to his mission: break systems and humiliate the powerful. Thousands of miles away, another teenager is watching from behind his own screen. He goes by the alias Default, a young American who idolizes Snowden. He's frustrated by the same issues: mass surveillance, corruption, unchecked power. He reaches out to Cracka. The two click instantly. Now with Cracka's reckless drive and Default's growing skill set, the group has momentum, and their next target is much bigger. John Brennan, director of the CIA, isn't just powerful. He's one of the most protected people in American intelligence, but his digital footprint, shockingly vulnerable. Cracka calls Verizon, pretending to be a technician on site. Using a fake ID number, he convinces tech support to give him access to Brennan's phone account. From there, it's just a few steps from breaking into Brennan's private email. Inside, they find more than they expected: sensitive documents, personal details, and private communications. They share the findings with WikiLeaks. When WikiLeaks publishes the documents, the internet explodes. Amongst the files is Brennan's official application for top secret clearance, a 47-page form revealing everything from past drug use to psychological records. There are also policy recommendations from the Bush era, detailing how torture could be rebranded to appear legally justified. The CIA scrambles. Security procedures are overhauled. Some operatives are even relocated. In total, the breach cost the agency over $1.5 million. But the damage isn't just financial, it's personal. The director of CIA just got publicly humiliated by teenagers. Feeling invincible, the crackers push forward. They gain access to the account of Mark Giuliano, deputy director of the FBI. This opens the door to database containing personal information on over 9,000 DOJ officials and 20,000 FBI agents. They post it online. They pull up the records of jailed hackers, activists, and whistleblowers, people like Jeremy Hamill, and publish them too. They weren't just hacking, they were making a statement. But as for most digital rebellions, the clock was ticking. Cracka knew they'd upset powerful people. He even joked about fleeing to Russia and join Snowden. Default, on the other hand, let his guard down. One night, while drinking and chatting with an old friend, he bragged about CIA breach. He thought it was just talk, harmless, maybe unbelievable. But that friend may have tipped off authorities. When the FBI comes knocking, they don't come quietly. Agent Storm defaults home as his computer's decrypting. They seize everything, his equipment, his hard drive, and with it, nearly 1,000 bitcoins. He blacks out from the shock. Cracka is also raided in the UK. His devices are confiscated and forensics begin digging. Years later, both will face the consequences. Cracka is eventually sentenced under anti-terror laws in the UK. He serves a year in your UK detention centre. After that, he vanishes from the spotlight. Default isn't so lucky. He's sentenced to 5 years in US federal prison, where he remains to this day. Most hackers deny their actions. They downplay, deflect, or blame someone else. Not these two. Even years later, they own it. They admitted that what they did was illegal, but they also believed that it was necessary. Default puts it simply, people had the right to know, and someone had to do it. In the age of big data, AI surveillance, and government's unchecked digital power, the story of Cracka and Default feels more relevant than ever. They weren't saints, they didn't follow rules, but they forced the world to confront the uncomfortable truth. They were kids with keyboards, and for a brief moment, they made giants fall. Were they criminals? Or were they something else? Speaking truth to power means breaking a few laws. Let us know in the comments. And if stories like this fascinate you, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon, because the next rebellion might already be online.